Howdy guys, and welcome to night 38 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 24, and welcome to Cliff Notes. Now, a little bit of a change of scenery, but Big Brother goes on, so do the recaps, and there's a lot to talk about this morning. First of all, we had the nominations yesterday. Remember, Thursday night we've got a brand new HOH of Taylor. Yeah, Taylor's the HOH. She had to make nominations yesterday. Once nominations take place, you get all kinds of talking going on. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Now, when we're talking about nominations, they were made yesterday, and Taylor has put on the block Terence and Indy. Not a huge surprise. We heard that whispered around yesterday, but she's put Terence and Indy on the block. The reasoning that she's giving for nominating those two is that Terence stuck with Daniel, voted to keep Daniel, so she's a little perturbed at that. And with regards to Indy, she says that Indy just doesn't talk much game with her. They've never had a tight game connection. Don't know exactly what was said at the nomination ceremony itself, but those are the reasons that were being given throughout the day of why those two are in the block. And I think everyone's buying that to a large degree. All right, as we get into the feeds themselves, there's three themes I think that took place overnight. First of all, I think there's some people in this house that are still playing just a little too hard, taking some chances and getting a little too fancy with their gameplay on weeks where it maybe shouldn't be that hard. Two, I think we got some people that are playing the game thinking way too much about us, the viewers, and not always about keeping it strictly to the strategy instead. And three, we're starting to see some splinters, some splits, some divisions within the leftover alliance. This alliance is going to maybe stick around for another week or two. I don't know. This twist may just throw everything up in the air. But without the twist, we'd only have another week or two of this alliance before it broke up anyway. We're starting to see that with some of the conversations that took place. And we're going to talk about all of them. So let's get on to the feeds themselves. First of all, very soon after the nomination takes place, we've got Indy talking to Taylor. And Indy is saying, look, I just hope you know, Taylor, I've been protecting you. I've been watching out for you. Really? I guess I missed some of those live feeds because I haven't seen that much of Indy being protective of Taylor. But Indy said, hey, I've always had your back, Taylor. And Taylor said, well, don't worry about it because there's no girls going home this weekend. Yeah, you got put up there just because we don't have a lot of connections maybe. But there's no girls going home. You and I, we know who the real target is, right? They never said a name, but Taylor's certainly hinting or at least letting Indy think that it's Monty that she's talking about. So she's trying to calm Indy down a little bit. But she'd said earlier, she didn't have any problem kind of screwing with Indy a little bit, putting her up on the block and letting her squirm a little bit. Well, Indy's doing that. So we do have that conversation. The other person on the block, Terence. Now, Terence is talking to Joseph, and he's saying, look, Joseph, if you get picked to play in the veto competition and you win it, I really would appreciate if you used it. I don't remember if he said specifically use it on me, but that's got to be what he's assuming, right? But he's telling Joseph, said, I'd love for you to use the veto in order to force Taylor to show her cards. Show who she's working with. Show who her other targets are in the house. So Terence is really hoping to stir things up a little bit by getting the veto in play. Joseph goes right back up and tells this to Taylor about what Terence has suggested. And it seems like it gets some thinking going, or at least in more motion. Taylor is at this point wondering if maybe if the veto is used, should she put up Monty as a replacement option just so that everyone thinks that he truly is her target and just to confuse the other side for a little bit more, for a little bit longer. So she's looking this as an opportunity, but she's wondering if she did it, would Monty have the votes to stay? Are there people that would flip and maybe send him out anyways? That's a valid concern. But she has mentioned it. And Joseph, remember when I said people sometimes playing a little too hard? Well, Joseph is coming back in and saying, look, what if you did this? What if you put me on the block as a replacement pawn if the veto's used? And that way it'll hide the alliance. Everyone will think that maybe you and I aren't as tight as we thought we were. It'll hide the fact that we're all working together. No, don't ever volunteer to be a pawn, no matter how safe you think you are. But Joseph is saying, yeah, don't do Monty, put me up there, that'd be fine. Joseph is saying, it'll be a way for me to prove to you just how much trust I have in you. So I think it'll go that much further with you and I as well. And he says, even more, if I get picked to play in veto, I'll make sure I throw it so that I'm eligible to get put on the block as a replacement. So he's really going all in with this idea of let me be the not sacrificial because he thinks he's going to be safe, but let me go on the block, prove my trust to you, let everyone else. Here's the inside, or the little sneaky part of it. I think Joseph may be suggesting this as a way to make him look more distant from the rest of the leftovers. Remember, he's kind of playing a free agent. If he's put on the block, it becomes that much easier for him to continue to sell to the other side of the house that, hey, even if they maybe sometimes bring me in or whatever, I'm not really part of the group. Hey, look, they put me on the block. So that's the part he's not telling Taylor that I feel may be a little underneath the currents type thing that Joseph's thinking about. And if so, I get it. But you still don't ever volunteer to go on the block. All right, the other thing they're talking about is that it'll squelch any of this talk about a showmance, that if she puts him on the block, how could people think they're in a showmance? I thought that was the idea of it, right? That they wanted to do a fomance to make people think that, well, now maybe they're going the other way. I don't know, but he's offering himself up for the block. Joseph is saying that if she takes her shot at him in putting him on the block, then they'll be fine with staying with him. And I think what he's saying is the girls will feel more comfortable sticking with Joseph and continuing to give him information. And he'll have them in his pocket a little further down the road as well. So we've got that. All right, we do have Michael coming in at this point, and he's talking. They all start talking, and they're talking about this discussion of if we have to do a replacement nominee, would it be Michael? Would it be Joseph? Which may be better way to go? There's never really a decision made at this point in time. All right, on to kind of not gameplay, but everything's gameplay in the house. We've got Terence and Jasmine cleaning the shower. They must really be feeling at risk if the two of them are in there cleaning the shower. And we'll talk about it in a second. It isn't done just out of goodwill for the house. No, there's some expectations that come along with it. All right, we've got Taylor talking to Joseph. She's telling Joseph, more from the previous conversation, that they really need to maybe consider when it's just the leftovers and maybe one or two people. So we're talking, say, final 9. They really need to be at that point figuring out just what they want to do. Remember I said there were little wedges starting to form the leftovers? Well, here you go. They're all talking about, how great it would be to get to the final 7 with the leftovers. And I'm sure most of them would love to have that. But they're also thinking that once they've got just 1 or 2 non-leftover people left, let's make sure they're the right leftovers that support our position, just in case we need the numbers to support a betrayal of the alliance a little bit early. So this is something that Taylor and Joseph are talking about. Brittany and Michael will talk about it a little bit later as well. Now, Joseph is talking about Michael and Brittany and saying he loves them both. He feels pretty close to them. I could see these 4 working together. I still could. All right, we've got lots of big group, most of the house, and they're talking all kinds of non-game talk. They're talking about living underwater, going to space, living in the future versus living in the past. A lot of talk about how you survive zombies. Turner wants to just get on a yacht with solar panels, float around the United Kingdom, and survive. I think Michael wants to go up to Minnesota because he thinks all the zombies will freeze, and they're challenging each other. What are you gonna do? Just sit on that yacht all day long? Is that what you're gonna do? Sounds pretty good to me. But anyway, so lots of non-game talk, followed up by another game of Chinese checkers. Now, I said before, I kind of like Chinese checkers as opposed to backgammon in the house because there's a lot of people sitting around playing versus just 2 people. I'm starting to reverse my feel on that because when you have that many people, you tend to not get as much game talk because there's too many people sitting around. When you have 2 people playing chess or backgammon, a little bit easier to get just the right person to do some whispering and all that, but whatever. But so they're playing Chinese checkers. All right, we've got Joseph and Indy talking to each other. Joseph is saying that he thinks that Taylor wants to use the veto, and he really thinks, Indy, I really think that Taylor wants to use it and that Monty's her actual target. And he's also saying that he's just not really sure what his position is with Taylor at this point in time. He's not sure that she fully trusts him. He's planting the seeds leading up to this potential blind side of Joseph. And he does tell Indy, he says, look, if I win the veto, I'll use it on you. Well, he's already said he doesn't want to win the veto, so we'll see how that works out today. All right, I mentioned Jasmine and Terence cleaning the bathroom begrudgingly. We'll call that the word for the day. Begrudgingly, she's cleaning the bathroom. She's complaining to Indy and Joseph that she basically had to clean the bathroom by herself, that Terence just only helped out at the end just a little bit. It was her doing it. She's upset that more people didn't thank her for cleaning the bathroom. I wonder how many times she thanked everyone for all the care and food and everything else that happened over the first few weeks. But anyway, she's upset that people didn't thank her more for cleaning the bathroom. She also is saying that, whatever, I'll never ask for help because that's just not my thing. Which leads to the question, it obviously wasn't Jasmine living in the house for the first month. Who was this other house guest that we didn't even know about that was pretending to be Jasmine? I don't know, because Jasmine doesn't ask for help. All right. We got Joseph talking to Indy and Jasmine, more of the same conversation. He's saying, look, yeah, Monty and I, we talk, but it's all personal. We never talk game. It's just strictly personal training, stuff like that. And he's saying that he really thinks that Taylor just wants to make a big splash. Taylor just wants to get out a big threat, have an impact in the game, and that really, honestly, Indy, you're not a threat. Terence isn't a threat. Taylor's not going to waste her HOH sending y'all out. She wants to make a big splash, get a big threat out the door. And he's saying, I think the big splashes, the big threats in this game, at least in Taylor's eyes, are me and Monty and Michael and Kyle. And that she wants to get one of us guys out. That's what she's thinking. Joseph is also telling Taylor, or saying that Taylor, he thinks, is trying to balance maybe some personal feelings for him, this fomance, with her playing the best game possible. So he's setting these guys up a little bit. All right, we got Jasmine and Indy then continuing to talk. Indy is nervous about Alyssa. She doesn't feel the same connection that she had before. Well, sometimes that happens when you get put on the block, but she's worried about Alyssa. She says that she's been acting weird. She's barely been talking to her. She's worried that Kyle now has her under his wings and that they don't really have much support from Alyssa at this point. Yeah, I think Alyssa sees the writing on the wall and she's starting to gravitate towards Kyle and that other side of the house. Jasmine is talking about who's on the block, and she's saying she really doesn't want Terence to go home this week, that's another number that they're losing, and she really, really wants Monty out so that they can keep their numbers on that side. And Indy comes back and says, I think we've got the numbers. She's counting on Joseph. I think she's still counting on Kyle and Alyssa. She thinks she has the numbers against Monty. Not so sure about that. All right, we've got Terence talking to the cameras a little bit. This is a weird conversation. Terence says that he hadn't been as cutthroat as he would like to be so far because he was warned that if that cutthroat side of him came out, that he would be sent home. I don't get that. Is he talking about Big Brother threatening sending him home or something? No, they want to see people all aggressive and getting out there and cutthroat, as he puts it, and all of that. So unless Terrence's cutthroat side involves literal cutthroats or something, I don't think that. I just don't get why he's getting at. And maybe it's just him pumping himself up, because at the end he says, well, it's time now. The cutthroat side of Terence is coming out. So at that point, he also then says, yeah, this bed feels really good. I just don't feel like getting out of bed. So I don't know. What side of Terence are we going to see going forward? I don't know. Now, I was going to say bring on the cutthroat. Now, we need to define what that is before I endorse that kind of play. But we may find out. We'll see. All right, we've got Michael and Brittany in the storage room talking. Pretty long conversations we had with Brittany and Michael tonight for the rest of the evening. They're feeling like, I think Brittany's the one that says it. She feels like they're in the middle of these different groups, and that's a pretty good position. The girls are all going after Monty. The guys are all going after the girls. As worried as they were last week about their position, now that Taylor's won, now they see fingers being pointed somewhere other than themselves. They're feeling pretty good about their position. There's talk about Indy going down and Joseph going back up. The whole thing that was proposed earlier that they've heard about. Brittany does mention, again, remember the theme that the leftovers starting to fall apart a little bit. Brittany mentions that, hey, if Joseph was gone, if he went on the block and maybe something just happened and he got sent home, would the girls maybe at that point be more loyal to you and I, Michael? Maybe it's not the end of the world if Joseph goes home right now. So don't ever volunteer yourself. And the alliance may have some issues at this point in time. They talked about it yesterday, and they're still talking about it. They're both a little perturbed at the way Joseph is playing both sides, that he's trying to stay good with everyone else, not get any blood on his hands. They're ready for that at the end. I think they're ready maybe to see Joseph get an HOH and force him to make some decisions in this house. All right, we've got Brittany talking some more, saying that she doesn't want to target Joseph right now without the rest of the leftovers being on board, or else Monty and the rest of them would then come after Brittany and Michael. So she doesn't really want to do that. So they've talked about maybe they could plant some seeds with Turner and Monty that Joseph's gameplay is really making everyone else in the leftovers vulnerable because they aren't tight with the other side the way Joseph is, and therefore, are y'all comfortable with that? Is there something that maybe should be done? Wink, wink, hint, hint. So they're going to plant some seeds. They all are also worried about Taylor and Joseph together. Fomance, showmance, working relationship, whatever. They're a little bit worried about that. And the other theme of the evening, playing for the viewers, not for the house. They are a little bit worried that these two are focusing more on good TV rather than doing what's more strategic. If you're talking about putting Joseph on the block, if you're talking about Taylor just wanting to use a veto no matter who it's used on, whatever, they think maybe they're so worried about making everything dramatic and exciting that they aren't making the best decisions possible all the time. And I kind of agree with that. I think Brittany and Michael are onto something. Remember, these are two big old super fans. They understand playing the game is the ultimate, is the most important thing always. All right, we've got Michael talking about Kyle. He's saying, look, it's just not us. Kyle's worried about Joseph, and he's worried not only how tight he is with the girls, but how easily he can lie to the girls. And I think Kyle would probably be willing to take a shot at Monty as well if we maybe could make it happen. But he also says, but I really think Kyle wants Indy out this week first, just because then that takes away some of that side with Alyssa. You can bring Alyssa in a little bit more and all that. So he's thinking that. Brittany comes back and says, Kyle's just like Joseph. He can lie to him just as well as they can. I'm a little worried about Kyle as well. But again, they're at least starting to have some of these conversations. All right, Michael's also worried about if they go after the leftovers, if they turned on Monty, what happens to Taylor? They've got a tight relationship with her. The three of them have been fairly close. If they flip on the leftovers, what does that do to their relationship with Taylor? And they don't want to lose that right now. Michael's thinking that Monty and Turner at the end of the day are still bigger threats than Joseph. I'm not sure I 100% agree with that because I think Joseph's playing a heck of a game. But Michael's thinking he'd rather get towards the very end with Joseph as opposed to Monty and Turner if it comes down to it. All right, he also is talking a little bit more about Kyle, saying, look, I think Kyle's loyal. I don't think he's going to screw us over, but I also think he's a pretty good competitor. And he said, I just as soon would not want to go against Kyle in the Final Four, Final Five, because I think there's too good a chance that he could win this thing. I think there's a good chance that Joseph and Monty could win it too, because I think they've been throwing more comps than they're even letting on. All right, Brittany's worried about Taylor's unwillingness to target Jasmine. She's saying it's just not logical. Remember, Taylor at one point had said, I'm not going after Jasmine. I'm not going after her because it's her birthday week. I'm not going after her because she's another black female. So Brittany is saying that it just doesn't make sense that you wouldn't target Jasmine right now. And if she has these accessory reasons for protecting Jasmine, you're a little bit worried about it. Fair enough. All right, we've got Brittany talking about the fact that she would love to win and use the veto on it because it would go a long way with the girls. If she wins, she takes Indy off. Indy's going to be forever grateful. Finally get Brittany in with the girls the way she's always wanted it. Even with that, I don't think they'll ever actually be working with Brittany. It's just not going to happen. But it would help her relationship with the girls. It would help her relationship, Michael and Brittany's relationship, both with the three girls. So I know she's going to be going for veto if she gets picked to play. Now here's the other thing. We've got more people to get to play. Remember last week you drew one chip. I guess it was two people that got to compete. But now you've got the HOH, you've got the two nominees, which means three other people get to play in the veto. So there's a much better chance that Joseph may get to play, Brittany may get to play. So we'll see what happens now that we're back to the old way of doing these vetoes and picking and all that. All right, we do have Terence talking to Taylor a little bit, asking Taylor if she would take him down if she won the veto. Taylor comes back and says, I'd love to, Terence, but I already promised Indy that I would if I won. She didn't. She never made any such promise, but Terence is her bigger target, so if she wins, it's Indy that she wants to take down, not Terence. So she's saying she already made a promise and that she's not going to go back on that. All right, we got Taylor and Michael and Turner talking about this veto that's going to take place today. They're thinking it could be the one with a couple of punishments and a trip and cash prizes, and you decide whether you want to grab the veto or you want to pick one of the prizes, and you go through and all of that. It's the right time. It very well could be today, and if so, I'm excited to see that game played out. Only two veto comps in my season I didn't compete in, and one of them was the one that involved the cash and the money. I've always hated that. The worst luck, but it could be today, and if so, I'll be curious to see what happens because everyone sitting here talking is all saying, yeah, I don't want the veto. I want the cash. I want the trips. I want all the other stuff. So if they play this one, who would go for the veto? Well, obviously Terence would. I think Indy would, although maybe she'll play an old David Alexander strategy and go ahead and take some money and just assume that she'll be okay. Don't know. Would Taylor, as much as Taylor's talking about she just wants a veto used no matter what, would she take the veto just to look good in front of viewers and make sure that it gets used? I don't know. We're going to find out this afternoon. All right, we've got Turner and Taylor talking a little bit. Turner's saying, look, if I won nomination, I could take Terence down. I know he's your target, but just hear me out, Taylor. I could take Terence down, and if I do, everyone's going to be thinking that Terence and I must be working together. If one of them wins HOH, they're going to put me and Terence up. And at that point, I trust y'all are going to send Terence out the door. You're going to protect me. If you do it this way, Taylor, you get some big target out this week. And is that Indy or Jasmine? I'm sure Turner's ready to get Jasmine out. But he's saying you can do that, and now we still have Terence safe for next week. So that gives us 2 weeks of basically safety. It's an okay plan, except you don't ever put yourself on the block, Turner. But he has suggested it. Taylor doesn't really comment on it one way or the other. We've got Monty and Taylor. We're almost done here. Monty and Taylor are talking. Monty is saying that earlier it really sounded like Terence had just kind of given up, that he was ready to call it quits. Does that mean walk out the door? I didn't really see that level, but Terence, I think it's more maybe resigned to your fate. And maybe that's why Terence was having the conversation about, I'm going to bring out that cutthroat side of you. But he's saying, yeah, Terence just seems like he's really just kind of giving it up. I don't know if he's just looking for sympathy at this time. He's wanting everyone else just to feel sorry for him. But Terence just a little down in the dumps right now. Taylor at this point mentions again, says, I just want the veto used. I don't care who it's used on. I just want to make she said multiple times last night, I don't want this season to be boring. I want to use a veto. So she's going to really push for that no matter who wins it, no matter what the repercussions, I think. So she is mentioning that. Monty comes back and says, I'm really thinking that of the two that are up there right now, Indy may be the better choice to go. Terence, yeah, it's fine getting him out there, but maybe Indy could be the bigger target right now. And Taylor mentions the fact that a friend of hers said, if there's ever anyone in that house who wants to go home, who doesn't want to keep playing, who's ready to quit, keep them in the house. Don't give them their wish. Don't send them out the door. Hold on to them and go after someone else. So she's basically kind of supporting what Monty's saying, that maybe we keep Terence. If that works and Terence stays in the house because he's gone with the woe is me type situation, congratulations to Terence. Not quite the level of Dan's funeral, but hey, Dan's funeral, junior level, something like that. But at least I don't think it's going to happen. But at least the talk is there. But Taylor does mention that, man, if I do that, so many promises I made that I'm going to turn right around and be breaking them all. Indy's already upset. Indy already is under the impression that when Taylor said that they were safe, that meant they weren't going on the block. Taylor tried to use the loophole of, I'm just saying that you're not going home. But Indy's already feeling like she's already broken promises to her. So if Taylor does this, sends Indy out the door, well, all the girls are going to be upset at this point in time. But it's a discussion that's taking place. And finally, into the evening, we get some goodbye messages from Turner and Monty and Taylor. Not in a dining room, in the bathroom upstairs, just talking to the cameras, saying they love their families, good night, typical things that we've been seeing. So we get all that. And with that, it actually was a fairly early evening for this cast. They were all in bed by 1:30 or so, Big Brother time, because we've got a veto competition coming up. Everyone wants to be prepped and ready for that. We're going to have the veto picks this morning, and then we'll have the veto competition probably later this afternoon. And based on that, will it be used? Probably. Seems like everyone in the house wants it to be used. So I would expect it probably will be used. The big question is going to be then, who goes up? Who goes up in place of whoever gets pulled down? And who's the real target in this game? It could be interesting. It could be exciting. I'm ready for it. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Saturday. I will be back tomorrow to give you all the updates on who won this veto and how that's going to work out. Until then, SKD143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.